A lot of the work that I've done and a lot of the work that I really love to do has been small venue or festival type shows. Whether that is a music act or a cabaret or something along those lines, and anything and everything in between. No matter what kind of performance you're bringing to a venue or to a festival, there is information that they are going to need from you about your tech in order to pull off your show. Having that information ready to go and in documentation makes it really easy, not only for you to just stress-free move between multiple different kinds of venues, but also for the venue itself to be able to pass on that information to a tech, to be able to teach it to somebody else, or in case of an emergency. But what are those documents and how do you make them? Over the next few weeks, I'm going to run you through these documents and how I think that you should put them together in order to make it easy for your tech to understand. This is a service that I offer through my website for fringe artists in particular, kind of working as a translator between the performer and the techs that they may have, as well as the venues. If you're planning on touring a show, this is actually really, really helpful and might just be things in general to think about regarding your show that you've never stopped to think about before. My name is Monique. I am an all-round tech who's worked in the entertainment industry for the last 10 years. I have experience from professional musical theatre all the way down to working in dingy pubs. I have worked fringe festivals. I have tech directed for small venues. I have managed small venues. I've done bookings for small venues. I've been the in-house tech in small venues. So I have done a lot of different kinds of shows in a lot of these spaces that you might be putting on your first shows in. These are the documents that I would be asking for when I was in management and tech directing positions. These are the documents that would be given to me from festivals and venues when I was the in-house tech. And these are now the documents that I help people create as a freelance tech, wanting to help them take their show on the road, get it into different venues, and let lots of different people see their art. The first couple of things that you are going to need is a stage plot and an input list. Whether you are a band or a cabaret or anything in between, knowing your preferred stage layout will not only allow for the venue and for the tech that you have to prepare the venue as much as possible before you even arrive, but it will also allow for them to know exactly what gear you need and what you're expecting the venue to be able to provide for you, and to flag if there's a miscommunication or if they don't have something you need, so you guys can organize a hire or you can find it yourself. This is what your input list is for. Venues don't always have every single bit of gear. They may only have a limited supply of what they do have. So communicating how many microphones, how many DIs, that kind of thing as early as possible allows for them to acknowledge any gaps they may have in what you need. P.S. This is a really great place to mention if you plan to operate your own music from a playlist or a device from stage that the tech will not be doing for you. Set lists or scripts and the relevant lighting documentation go hand in hand. If you're a music act, having a set list along with the kind of mood ideas of what your song is can really help them to give you some interesting lighting that will really amplify your performance. The more simple you keep this, the easier it is to translate to different venues and spaces and rigs. Some venues may have moving lights, some venues may only have a couple, some may only have an option for you to be front lit with a back color. Like, everywhere is different, and if you keep it simple, then you can still get the same idea across everywhere you go, with different levels of complexity and interest based on what is able to be achieved. Something like a color, whether you want the lighting to move or not, if that's possible. If as a band that is the information you gave me before the show, I would be able to make you a pretty interesting light show based off of that information. If you are performing a cabaret or a scripted show, give your tech a breakdown of your lighting cues, your lighting states, and a tech script. Having a list of your lighting states can be incredibly helpful, especially in an emergency. In a production horror stories that I recently did, I talked about how my lighting console during a comedy festival was going down all the time and I had to reprogram a show on the fly. That is what inspired me to start writing documentation like this, because if I had had a list of exactly what all of the lighting states were, it would have been really easy for me to reprogram them in the time that I had. Similar to the set list vibe, the more simple that you keep this, the easier it is to translate to different venues and setups. Upbeat, pink, move if possible, moody, dark, red, those kind of things is all that you need and can be incredibly helpful. Supplying your tech with a tech script when they have lighting and audio cues is incredibly important. Not only because it allows them to accurately follow your show and make sure they're delivering your tech in the way that you've envisioned as part of your show, but also because, again, in the case of an emergency, if you have a clearly labeled script ready to go, if somebody has to step in who hasn't been able to rehearse the show with you, all they have to do is follow the script. A couple of other little things that you might want to think about to bring with you. Include a laptop or a device to play music off of. Do not expect that the venue will have one. You can check in with them and make sure that they do, but especially in a case if you are using a file, if you have multiple songs and tracks needed, sound effects as part of your show, create a QLab file. If you are running your show with a QLab file, my suggestion would be to run it off of your own computer and bring that with you to every show you go to so that you know it is ready to go in the same. There's no issues with file exchange or anything like that. Also, think about your house music. Think about what you want people to be hanging out in before the show and after the show. That is also something that you can put into your QLab file. Next week, I'm going to take you through how to put together a text script and how to put together your lighting states. And the week after that, we are going to build a QLab file together. Please let me know if there's anything that I'm missing from this series that would be helpful for you to know. If you are a performer or a tech who's worked in spaces like this and you have other tips of things that would be really helpful for you to give a venue, please leave them down below and we can talk about it later on the stream. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.